The Poesy of Scalds, Section 47. How should battle be periphrased? By calling it storm of weapons, or of sheltering shields, or of Odin, or of the Valkyrs, or of host kings, and din and clashing. Thus sang Hornklofi: The king hath held a spear storm with heroes, where the eagles screamed at the din of Skogul; the red wounds spat out blood. Thus sang Eyvindr: And that hero at Har's tempest wore a sark of grey wolf skin. Thus sang Bersi: In earlier days I seemed not to Gunn's war bushes useful in the sleet of Hlokk; when younger we were, so 'tis said. Thus sang Einarr: The stark prince lets Hildr's shield sails take the sternest crashing storm wind of the Valkyr, where hail of bow strings drives, the sword blade hammers. As Einarr Tinkling Scale sang: The mail sarks of the warriors, firm woven, did not shelter the seemly youths 'gainst Hogni's showers of Hakon's onset. Even as here: They set the point net's edge band against the point crash Urger. And again: 'Neath eagles' claws the king's foes sank at the clash of Gundul. 48. Weapons and armor should be periphrased in figures of battle, and with reference to Odin and the Valkyrs and host kings. One should call a helmet cowl or hood, a byrnie sark or kirtle, a shield tent, and a shield wall is termed hall and roof, wall and floor. Shields, periphrased in figures of warships, are called sun or moon or leaf or sheen or garth of the ship. The shield is also called Ship of Ullr, or periphrased in terms of Hrungnir's feet, since he stood upon his shield. On ancient shields it was customary to paint a circle, which was called the ring, and shields are called in metaphors of that ring. Hewing weapons, axes, or swords are called fires of blood or of wounds. Swords are called Odin's fires, but men call axes by the names of troll women, and periphrase them in terms of blood or wounds, or a forest or wood. Thrusting weapons are properly periphrased by calling them by names of serpents or fishes. Missile weapons are often metaphorically termed hail or sleet or storm. Variants of all these figures have been made in many ways, for they are used chiefly in poems of praise, where there is need of such metaphors. So sang Viga Glumr: With the hanged god's helmet the hosts have ceased from going by the brink; not pleasant the bravest held the venture. Thus sang Einarr Tinkling Scale: Helm-folded strife-bold Bui, who from the south went forth into Gunn's crash, and din-swift Sigvaldi offered battle. Sark of Rodi, as Tindr sang: When came the byrnied Hakon to cast away the ring-rent streaming sark of Odin, Rodi's rocking sea-steeds were cleared. Hamdir's Kirtle, as Hallfredr sang: The war-sleet hard and streaming of Egil's weapons breaketh fiercely on Hamdir's kirtles of the foremost Wave-Deer's warriors. Sorli's Garments, as he sang further: Thence the bright weeds of Sorli in men's blood must be reddened; I hear it clearly, wound fire in cutting showers of iron. Shields are called tents of Hlokk, as Grettir sang: Hlokk's tent raisers held their noses together, and the heroes of the rain storm of Hildr's shield wall hewed at each other's beards. Rodi's Roof, as Einarr sang: Rodi's roof's great ice lump for the rain of Freyja's eyelids grows not less, my fair axe head; his age my lord so useth. Wall of Hildr, as Grettir sang, and as we have written before. Ship Sun, as Einarr sang: In the sea Olafr's kinsman reddens the flame of the Ship Sun. Moon of the Ship's Cheek, as Refr sang: Fair was the day when scatterers of arm fire thrust the clear moon of the cheek into my hand clasp, the coiling track of red rings. Ship's Garth, as here: The swift seller of the spear crash shot through the stain-dyed prow-garth as it were birch-bark. Truly he was a bitter battler. Ash of Ullr as here: the snow-gusts of Ullr's ash-ship grimly o'er our prince shoot with fullness, where are tossing the fearsome covered spike-spars. Blade of Hrungnir's foot-soles as Bragi sang: wilt hear, O Hrafn-Ketil, how I shall praise the soul-blade of Trudr's thief, stain-covered with skill, and praise my king. Bragi the Skald sang this concerning the ring on the shield: unless it be that Sigurdr's renowned son would have payment in good kind for the ring-nave of the ringing wheel of Hildr. He called the shield Wheel of Hildr, and the ring the Nave of the Wheel. Ring Earth as Hallvaldr sang: the chief of ranks of combat sees the red gleaming ring earth fly in two parts; the white disk, the pictured, bursts in sunder. It is also sung: a ring befits the shield best, arrows befit the bow. A sword is Odin's fire, as Kormakr sang: the fight swelled when the warrior, the wolf's blithe feeder, in tumult fared with Odin's ringing fire flame. Urdr came forth from the well. Fire of the Helm as Ulfr Uggason sang: the very mighty maiden of the mountain made the sea-horse roll forward, but the champions of Odin's helm fire felled her wolf-steed. Fire of the Birnie as Glumr Geirason sang: at that the Land Protector let the Birnie's streaming fire whine, hone wedded, he who warded him strongly 'gainst the warriors. Ice of the Rim and Hurt of Sheltering Weapons as Einarr sang: I received the ice of red rims with Freyja's golden eye thaw; from the upright prince high-hearted we bear in hand the helm's hurt. An axe is called Troll Woman of Sheltering Weapons as Einarr sang: Ryfield's sea-steed's riders may see how richly carven the dragons close are brooding 'gainst the brow of the Helm Ogress. A spear is called Serpent as Refr sang: my angry murky serpent of the markings of the shield board savagely doth sport in my palms where men in strife meet. Arrows are called Hail of the Bow or Bowstring, or of the Shelters, or of Battle, as Einarr Tinkling Scale sang: the hammering King of Swords shook from the sails of Hluk the bow hail; bravely the Wolf's supporter warded his life in battle. And Hallfredr: and the armor of the Spear Sleet, knitted with iron, saved not the satyrs of hungry ravens from the shaft hail of the bowstring. And Eyvindr's Skald Despoiler: they said, O Hord's Land Warder, thy spirit little faltered, when the Birnie's hail in the wound burst, bent were the stringed elm bows. 49. Battle is called Storm or Snow Shower of the Hjadnings, and weapons are termed Fire or Wands of Hjadnings, and this is the tale thereof. That king who was called Hogni had a daughter named Hildr. Her king Hedinn, son of Hjarrandi, took as the spoils of war, while King Hogni attended an assembly of kings. But when he learned that there had been raiding in his realm, and his daughter had been borne off, he departed with his host to seek Hedinn, and heard tidings of him, that he was proceeding northward along the land. When Hogni had come into Norway, he learned that Hedinn had sailed westward over the sea. Then Hogni sailed after him, even to the Orkneys. And when he landed at the place called Hoi, Hedinn was already there before him with his boat. Then Hildr went to meet her father, and offered him a necklace on Hedinn's behalf for reconciliation and peace. But if it were not accepted, she said, Hedinn was ready to fight, and Hogni might hope for no mercy at his hands. Hogni answered his daughter harshly, and when she returned to Hedinn, she told him that Hogni desired no reconciliation, and she bade him make ready for battle. So did both parties. They went to the island and marshaled their hosts. Then Hedinn called to Hogni his father-in-law, offering him reconciliation and much gold in compensation. But Hogni answered: "Thou hast made this offer over late, if thou wouldst make peace. For now I have drawn Dainsleif, which the dwarves made, and which must cause a man's death every time it is bared, nor ever fails in its stroke. Moreover, the wound heals not if one be scratched with it." Then said Hedinn: "Thou dost boast in the sword, but not in the victory. I call any sword good which is faithful to its lord." Then they began that famous battle, which is called the Hjadnings' strife, and they fought all that day, but at evening the kings went to their ships. Alhildr went to the slain by night, and with magic quickened all those that were dead. The next day the kings went to the battlefield and fought, and so did all those that had fallen on the day before. So the fight went one day after the other; all who fell, and all those weapons which lay on the field, and the shields also, were turned to stone. But when day dawned, up rose all the dead men and fought, and all weapons were renewed. It is said in songs that in this fashion the Hjadnings shall continue until the Weird of the Gods. Bragi the Skald composed verses after this tale in Ragnar Lodbrok's Song of Praise. And the beloved maiden of the Vane's bloodletting purposed to bring, for wrath's sake, the bow storm to her father. When the ring-wearing lady, the woman full of evil, bore the neck-ring of war doom to the battler of the wind's steeds. That gory wound amender to the glorious monarch offered the necklace not for fear's sake, at the mote of fatal weapons. Even as restraining battle she seemed, although she goaded warriors to walk the death road with the ravening wolf's dire sister. The Prince of Folk, the Land God, let not the fight wolf-gladdening halt, nor slaughter on the sands cease. Hate deadly swelled in Hogni, when the stern lords of Sword Din sought Hedinn with stern weapons, rather than receive the necklet rings of Hildr. And that baleful Witch of Women, wasting the fruits of victory, took governance on the island o'er the axe, the Birnie's ruin. All the Ship King's war host went wrathful 'neath the firm shields of Hjarrandi, swift marching from Reifnir's fleet sea-horses. On the fair shield of Svolnir one may perceive the onslaught. Ragnar gave me the Ship Moon, with many tales marked on it. Battle is called Storm of Odin, as is recorded above. So sang Viga-Glumr. I cleared my way aforetime like earls to lands. The word went of this among the storm staves, the men of Vidrir's sword wand. Here battle is called Storm of Vidrir, and the sword is the wand of battle. Men are staves of the sword. Here then both battle and weapons are used to make metaphors for man. It is called inlaying when one writes thus. The shield is the land of weapons, and weapons are hail or rain of that land, if one employs figures of later coinage. Section 50. How should the ship be periphrased? Call it horse or deer, or snowshoe of the Sea King, or of ship's rigging, or of storm, steed of the billow, as Hornklofi sang. The counsel stern destroyer of the pale steed of the billow. When full young let the ship's prows press on the sea at flood tide. Geitir's steed, as Erringarstein sang. But though to the skald all people this strife from the south are telling, we shall yet load Geitir's sea steed with stone; we voyage gladly. Sveidi's reindeer. O son of Svein, strife valiant, thou comest with Sveidi's reindeer, long of seam on the seat of Sulsi; the sound deer from land glided. So sang Hallvardr. Here the ship is also called Deer of the Sound, and the sea is called Zulsi's Seat. Thus sang Tordr Sjareksson. The swift steed of the gunwale around Sig veered from northward. The gust shoved Gylfi's stream's mirth, the gull's wake horse, to southward of Aumar, laying fleetly both Kormt and Agdir's coastline along the stern. By Listi the leek steed lightly bounded. Here the ship is called Steed of the Gunwale, and the sea is Gylfi's land. The sea is also called Gull's Wake. The ship is called Horse, and further Horse of the Leek, for leek means mast. And again, as Markus sang: The stream's winterling waded stoutly the firth snake's snow heaps. The tusker of the masthead leaped o'er the whale's spumed housetops. The bear of the flood strode forward on the ancient paths of sea ships. The stay's bear, shower breasting, broke the reef's plashing fetter. Here the ship is called Winterling of the Stream. A bear cub is called a winterling, and a bear is called Tusker. The bear of the stay is a ship. The ship is also called Reindeer, and so Hallvardr sang, as we have written before, and Hart, as King Haraldr Sigurdarson sang. By Sicily then widely the seam cut, we were stately. The sea hart glided swiftly, as we hoped beneath the heroes. And Elk, as Einar sang: The ring's mild peace dispenser, the princely hero, may not long bide with thee, if something aid not. We bound the flood's elk. And Otter, as Mani sang: What, laggard carle with grey cheeks, canst do among keen warriors on the otter of the sea waves? For thy strength is ebbing from thee. Wolf, as Refr sang: And the hoard diminisher hearkened to Thorstein. True my heart is to the Lord of the Wolf of Billows in the baleful Wrathwan's conflict. And Ox also: The ship is called Snowshoe or Wagon or Wain. Thus sang Eyjolfr the valiant skald: Late in the day the young earl in the snowshoe of landless waters fared with equal following to meet the fearless chieftain. Thus sang Styrkar Odason: Hogni's host drove the wagons of rollers o'er Heiti's snow heaps, angrily pursuing the great giver of flood embers. And as Torbjorn sang: The freighter of wave crest Sea Wain was in the font of christening, Hoard Scatterer, who was given the White Christ's highest favor. 51. How should one periphrase Christ? Thus by calling him Fashioner of heaven and earth, of angels and of the sun, Governor of the world and of the heavenly kingdom, and of Jerusalem and Jordan and the land of the Greeks, Counselor of the apostles and of the saints. Ancient skalds have written of him in metaphors of Urdr's well and Rome. As Eilifr Gudrunarson sang: So has Rome's mighty ruler in the rocky realms confirmed his power. They say he sitteth south at the well of Urdur. Thus sang Skapti Thoroddson: The king of monks is greatest of might, for God all governs. Christ's power wrought this earth all, and raised the hall of Rome. King of the heavens, as Markus sang: The king of the wind house fashioned earth, sky, and faithful peoples. Christ, sole prince of mortals, hath power o'er all that liveth. Thus sang Eilifr Kullnasveinn: The host of the beaming world's roof and the band of Illustrious bow down to the holy cross. Than all glory else the sole sun's king is brighter. Son of Mary, as Eilifr sang further: The bright host of heaven boweth to Mary's bairn. He winneth, the gentle prince, of glory the true might, God and man both. King of angels, as Eilifr sang again: The goodly might of God's friend is better than men guess of. Yet the gracious King of angels is dearer than all and holier. King of Jordan, as Sigvatr sang: 4 angels the King of Jordan sent long ago through ether to earthward, and the stream washed the holy head of the world's Lord. King of Greeks, as Arnor sang: I have lodged for the hero's ashes prayers with the lordly warder of Greeks and men of Gardar. Thus I pay my prince for good gifts. Thus sang Eilifr Kullnasveinn: The glory of heaven praises man's prince, he is king of all things. Here he called Christ first king of men, and again king of all. Einar Skulason sang: He who compasseth, bright in mercy, all the world, and gently careth for all, caused the realm of heaven to ope for the valiant ruler. 52. There the metaphors coincide. and he who interprets the language of poesy learns to distinguish which king is meant, for it is correct to call the Emperor of Constantinople King of Greeks, and similarly to call the king who rules over the land of Jerusalem King of Jerusalem, and also to call the Emperor of Rome King of Rome, and to call him King of Angles who governs England. But that periphrasis which was cited but now, which called Christ King of Men, may be had by every king. It is proper to periphrase all kings by calling them land rulers, or land warders, or land attackers, or leader of henchmen, or warder of the people. Thus sang Eyvindr Skald Despoiler: Who filled the ravens from life was reft by the earth rulers at Uglo. And as Glumr Geirason sang: The prince beneath the helmet reddened the sword hone hollowed on the Geats; there the land warder was found in the grinding spear din. As Thjodolfr sang: 'Tis my wish that the glorious leader of henchmen, the glad-hearted, should leave his sons the heritage and the sod of his fair freehold. As Einar sang: The valiant-souled earth warder on his stern head the helm bears; the bard before heroes telleth the fame of the king of Hordland. It is right also to call him King of Kings, under whom are tributary kings. An emperor is highest of kings, and next under him is that king who reigns over a nation, and each of these is equal to the other in the periphrases made of them in poesy. Next to them are those men who are called earls or tributary kings, and they are equal in periphrasis with a king, save that one may not term them kings of nations. And thus sang Arnor Earl Skald concerning Earl Thorfinnr: Let the men hear how the earls' king, hardy of mind, the sea sought; the overwhelming ruler failed not to thwart the ocean. Next to these, in the figures of poesy, are those men who are called chiefs. One may periphrase them as one might a king or an earl, calling them dispensers of gold, wealth munificent, men of the standards, and captains of the host, or van leaders of the array or of battle, since each king of a nation who rules over many lands appoints tributary kings and earls in joint authority with himself, to administer the laws of the land and defend it from attack in those parts which lie far removed from the king; and in those parts they shall be equal with the king's self in giving judgment and meting punishment. Now there are many districts in one land, and it is the practice of kings to appoint justiciars over as many districts as one chooses to give into their hands. These justiciars are called chiefs or landed men in the Danish tongue, reeves in Saxony, and barons in England. They are also to be righteous judges and faithful warriors over the land which is entrusted to them for governance. If the king is not near, then a standard shall be borne before them in battle, and then they are quite as lawful war captains as kings or earls. Next under them are those men who are called franklins. They are those freeholders who are of honorable kindred and possessed of full rights. One may periphrase them by calling them wealth givers and protectors and reconcilers of men. Headmen also may have these titles. Kings and earls have as their following the men called henchmen and housecarls. Landed men also have in their service those who are called henchmen in Denmark and Sweden, and housecarls in Norway. And these men swear oaths of service to them, even as henchmen do to kings. The housecarls of kings were often called henchmen in the old heathen time. Thus sang Thorvaldr Blending Skald: Hail, king, swift in the onset, and thy sturdy housecarls with thee! In their mouths men have my verses, made for a song of praising. King Haraldr Sigurdarson composed this: The man full mighty waiteth the filling of the king's seat. Oft I find to the earl's heels throngs my host of housecarls. Henchmen and housecarls may be periphrased by calling them house guard, or wage band, or men of honor. Thus sang Sigvatr: I learned the warrior's wage band on the water fought that battle newly. 'Tis not the smallest snow shower of shields I tell of. And thus also: When on the steed of cables the clashing steel was meeting, 'twas not as when a maid bears the chief's mead to the honor winners. The service fee which headmen give is called wages and gifts. Thus sang Ottar the Swarthy: I needs must use the breaker of the battle glow of good men. Here is the watch war doughty of the wise king assembled. Earls and chiefs and henchmen are periphrased by calling them counselors or speech friends or seat mates of the king, as Hallfredr sang: The counselor battle mighty of the prince, whom boldness pleases, lets the feud fiery weeds of Hogni hammer beaten clash upon him. As Snaebjorn sang: The speech friend of kings letteth the long hulled steer rope's race horse steady the sword like steel beak of the ship against the stern wave. Thus sang Arnorr: My young sons do bear for my sake grave sorrow for the slaughter of the earl, destroyed by murder, the bench-mate of our monarch. King's counsel friend, as Hallfredr sang: In council 'twas determined that the king's friend, wise in counsel, should wed the land, sole daughter of Onarr, greenly wooded. One should periphrase men by their kindred, as Kormakr sang: Let the son of Haraldr's true friend give ear and hearken to me. I raise my song, the yeast stream of Syr's snow-covered monsters. He called the earl true friend of the king, and Hakon, son of Earl Sigurdr. And Thjodolfr sang thus concerning Haraldr: About Olafr's sire waxed the steel knife storm's ire, that of whiteness each deed is worthy fame's meed. And again: Jarizleifr could espy where the king passed by. The brave sainted lord's kin stoutly praise did win. And again he sang: Breath bereft is he who o'er all bore the gree, of chiefs kinsman mild, Haraldr's brother's child. Arnorr also sang thus in Rognvaldr's song of praise: Heiti's war-good kinsman made wedlock kindred with me; the earl's strong tie of marriage made honor to us rendered. And again concerning Earl Thorfinnr he sang: The thin-made swords bit keenly old Rognvaldr's kin, to southward of Man, where rush the strong hosts under the sheltering shield-rims. And he sang further: O God, guard the glorious kin-betterer of great Turf Einarr from harm; I pray show mercy to him whom faithful chiefs love. And Einarr Tinkling Scale sang: The house-prop of the kindred of Hilditun shall not lack hardihood more munificent; I am bound to maintain praises. End of Section 52. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine.